Roll the open. Stand by news alert.
Everybody stand by.
Out to a news alert. Mike the anchors.
And we begin
Stand by
tonight
two
with
on
a
a two-shot.
WDRB News Alert. Demonstrators are out for the fifth
And
night in a row in Louisville
dissolve.
protesting racial injustice.
Stand
so
by
far,
ME1B.
So far, it's been peaceful in Louisville, but we're
Stand
told
by
the
the live
police are
tween.
just starting to move in closer to the protesters.
There are a lot of developments today. Chief Steve Conrad was fired over another body camera failure in another police shooting
Live
early
tween.
this morning. We have live team coverage of the protest in Louisville tonight
Stand by
from West
live view
Broadway
4
to downtown.
with
We're going to begin tonight with WDRB's Joel Skipper. He is live in front of LMPD headquarters tonight. Joel.
take.
David and Fallon, we are live at
by
Jefferson
A,
and 7th right
sound.
now. As you were mentioning, Mayor Greg Fisher firing the city's police chief after finding out the body cameras on the officers at today's shooting were not on.
Roll A, take. Roll A.
Radio traffic released following Monday
ME3B
morning shooting at
with
Dino's
E1
Food Mart at
or
26th and
E2.
Broadway. LMPD and National Guard members
Switch
showed
over,
up to the
Brendan,
store around
with live view 6 in the
12:15
small.
a.m. after reports of a large crowd gathered during the
Stand by to
countywide
dissolve.
curfew. The state's
Dissolve.
real-time traffic center cameras showing
Add
officers and
E3.
members of the National Guard reacting to sudden gunfire, then
Stand
returning
by
fire.
super.
As I learned about some of the details about what happened last night, I learned that the body cameras of
Blue
the
super.
officers present were not activated. This type of institutional failure will not be tolerated.
David McAtee, a well-known barbecue stand owner, was shot and killed.
LMPD is
Stand by
deeply
super.
saddened by the death of Mr. McAtee.
Add
Over
super.
the years, he's been a good friend to the police officers of LMPD.
Two
Blues.
LMPD officers and two National
Next
Guard
one's at
members fired
108.
their weapons. It's not known who shot McAtee. Louisville Mayor Greg Fisher visited 26th and Broadway and spoke with McAtee's mother and those in the crowd. Metro Council President David James, a former police officer, was emotional when addressing the council.
I find out
super.
this morning that my friend is dead
Blue super.
because of actions taken by the
Joel,
police
the plan is
department.
for you to still toss to Chad. Joel, you'll still toss to Chad.
So we need to know
We got
why.
about 30 seconds
We all
left in
need to know
package.
why.
About 30 seconds
Governor
left in
Andy
package.
Beshear also addressed the
by
shooting
super.
at his media briefing.
Add
It
super.
is unacceptable that the officers that responded
super.
last night
On
did
ME2
not
give me a
have
double-double
body
of live view
cameras
4
on and recorded.
to live
This
view
is
6,
the
live view
entire
4 left,
reason
live view
that
6
we
right.
have those cameras. And every
Stand by live view 4
other
full.
officer's cameras should be reviewed, and
Stand
if
by
they
the live
captured any
tween
part of the scene,
with
it
E1.
ought to be released.
It's still not known who initially fired
10
at
away.
officers or whose bullet hit McAtee.
For him not to be with us today is a tragedy
Stand by.
that
Go,
is
go,
just hard to
go.
put into words.
Live tween.
Stand by, Chad.
And the
Joel
two
will be
officers
talking
who
to you.
fired their
Stand by.
weapons have been
Put
placed
live
on
E3 on
administrative
on the
leave.
right.
Kentucky State Police is now heading this investigation right now. As I mentioned, we're on the corner of 7th and Jefferson. You see the National Guard has been staged here. They are going to head more into downtown across the street. We do have some tactical units. Farther downtown, let's check in with WDRB's Chad Mills with
Stand
what's
by
going
live
on there.
view 3
Chad?
and live tween.
And Joel, the people have
Thank
heard
you.
what you just reported, and they're not too happy with the leadership from the city, neither LMPD or the mayor's office, and that is why they are out here right now. They know the
No,
curfew is an
so
hour
live view
in
3
at
to
this
live view
point, but
6.
they still feel they have the right and the reason to be out here.
But that's
now,
Dalton
until
next,
just a
right?
couple
Yes.
minutes ago, they didn't see LMPD officers, but now you'll see it on your screen. LMPD out here. We understand they're coming down this street, which is Jefferson, next to City Hall, and they're coming down Liberty, 1 block over as well, near Metro Corrections. And you can see some of the protesters holding signs, going out there, inching closer, but they know LMPD, the other officers
Dissolve.
have the tear gas, have those pepper pellets, and so they're staying back a little bit. Up until this point, there was a lot of nervousness, a lot of anxiousness about
Stand by live
will
view
LMPD
3.
let this protest continue. They knew they were in violation of the curfew, but
Dissolve.
they figured if they were being peaceful, they could continue to be out here. Now, however, LMPD, these other officers kind of showing force, and maybe
On
that's just
ME3A, put
kind
B
of part of the
on
strategy,
program.
showing we're here, we're ready to take action if we have
And
to.
X on
Maybe
preview.
they don't want to have to take action, but you know, we'll just have to see what happens next. But You know, the day started, let me stress this, very peacefully. We started here at the Halls of Justice a couple hours ago. A number of protesters, I would say a couple thousand, marched up 6th Street, over past Metro Corrections, over to Broadway, and all the way down Broadway from about 6th to 26th. 20 blocks of walking for these protesters. They went there, of course, because that's where the shooting scene from overnight is. They wanted to march there, thought it would be symbolic, and then they marched back. But there was an interesting moment. But interesting moment in all of that, because at the front of that march were 3 African-American LMPD officers locking arms with some of the protesters. When they finally got down to 26th Street, those officers, one of them, a sergeant with LMPD, Sergeant Jackson, actually burst into tears, hugging some of those protesters, saying, "We see you, we hear you, we understand your message," and some of the people obviously sympathizing with them, because it seems like he's well known in that part of Louisville. Knew Mr. McAtee as well, said he loved his barbecue, was upset about that as well. But an interesting moment there between LMPD and the protesters as we hear. Flashbang overhead. Not quite sure where that came from, but people kind of scattering in all directions, people running down Liberty, some running down Jefferson, some running down 6th Street, but this core group here in front of this line remaining here with their hands up, sending a message to LMPD that they're going to stay here and protest as we hear another pop there. And oh, those flashbangs are coming from the direction which you're looking. And it looks like the officers are on the move. And we hear some pops in that direction, which would probably be gunfire. Not sure if that's civilian gunfire or what. That would be our guess. But we're going to move back a little bit as LMPD marches down Jefferson here. If you want to scoot back a little bit, we're just going to get a little better position in case the pepper balls start flying in our direction, which is a very real possibility at this point, especially after what sounds like gunfire coming from behind us. Not too sure about that yet. That's unconfirmed. We're just reporting what we see in here. But LMPD marching down, we saw a water bottle land in their direction, didn't actually make contact with LMPD, but landed in that direction as the flashbang pops right overhead of us. Here at the corner of Jefferson and 6th Street, just at the corner of City Hall, where some of this stuff happened on Thursday night and in some of the previous nights as well. Again, kind of a show of force. We haven't seen the tear gas. I don't think they fired any of the pepper pellets yet.
No, thank you.
But they are using those flashbangs, which is kind of a sign to move people back, that they're serious about breaking up what they most likely consider an unlawful gathering of people at this point. That's gas. And we have some tear gas coming down on top of our heads right now.
Oh my God!
It's okay, it's just tear gas.
Right there on the sidewalk. The wind is not in our favor, so we're going to keep coming back here. But we're doing all right. Just backing up as these officers make their presence known here, right here in the middle of downtown Louisville. Protesters thought they would be able to be out here peacefully as long as they were being peaceful, but LMPD either seeing something or deciding to break this up now that we approach the 10 o'clock hour, an hour into this curfew.
Stand by, Live U6 full, or Live U3 full.
Godby, as we catch our breaths here.
We're at Mike Live U6, Mike Live U6.
Yeah, Chad.
Stand by, Live U6 full.
This all just breaking out just moments ago. I mean, about 15 minutes ago or less, this was all peaceful. It's been peaceful all day. We are now seeing LMPD out in really full force here downtown. We are right now at the corner of 6th and Jefferson, between 6th and Jefferson and 6th and Liberty. Several people running in many
stand by
different
ME1B with
there
E2.
You see the National Guard
like he's
there
talking
with LMPD. We're hearing pops and bangs, as Chad was mentioning. Some of that tear gas, some of the smoke, some of those pepper bullets that we've seen in the past several days. Since that has happened, much of the crowd has cleared out of the area right now. But as you can see, LMPD, I think that is the National Guard here at 6th and Jefferson, making their way up Jefferson Street right now to 6th, where these protesters are. There's a man down here right behind me, Jacob. If you want to take, there is actually someone down, and several protesters are helping him right now. But we will go back and look at
Stand by
that loud
ME2B.
boom there, and several of those right now. We see bottles of water being thrown at the National Guard, at LMPD. Some of that return fire with those pepper bullets and things. They are just moving in this direction. Again, this was all peaceful for so long.
Yeah, sure.
This was peaceful all day long. There was some dialogue.
Live U3 on the left. Live U3 on the left is off. Is off.
This is all just broken out in the last few minutes, about the last 20 minutes or so here downtown. A lot of stuff has happened. The protest started down here earlier today and then moved to 26 and Broadway. That is where Travis Ragsdale is. Travis, obviously a lot going on here downtown at Jefferson Square Park. In this area, what is the scene like there?
That's where we're at.
Different scene
to my Live U7, full.
Broadway, Dalton. This is more
live
of a
tween.
Party scene with no police presence at all at this point. This is the intersection last night.
So
where
Brendan,
David
give me the
McAtee was shot and
downtown
killed.
that
Again,
fits this
we
one.
don't know who he was killed by. We know that LMPD officers and National Guard members fired weapons
We're getting there.
during that incident after they
We're
say
getting
they
there.
were shot at.
At
But
E2.
here, rather than protest, this is party, and we have seen no evidence of LMPD or National Guard members at all. A few hundred people gathered here in front of Dino's. Like a lot of times, there are people, a few clubs here and bars that people gather at.
Let me know when you got it.
Barbecue man. He would set up shop right here, and people would get some barbecue. You can see a balloon memorial over there,
Put
or near
ME2B
here,
in
where
returns,
near
or,
he was
I'm sorry,
killed, where he used
preview.
to set up his stand. But again, a few hundred people
And
down
put
here,
E2 up.
peaceful, no signs of police.
No,
more of a
remember it
party
fits on the far
atmosphere
right?
here
We had
at
the ones that
26
fit
and
the far
Broadway, rather than protest. Guys?
Who? Mike? Who? Mike Anchors? Mike
Thank
Anchors?
you. And we have been following this
Stand
all
by
day.
anyone
A very
B.
different
Just
scene
give me the 4-box,
in
Brendan,
downtown
sorry.
Louisville tonight than what we've been seeing all day
Stand by to number
today,
1 with
starting
E2.
around noon when protests started today.
Go ahead.
Very, very peaceful.
Yeah, then earlier this evening downtown, we saw some really beautiful moments that you hadn't seen up to this
Stand by
point.
Live U3.
We had that one moment that has gone viral of an officer hugging a protester, and we had some more of that today. We had people kneeling in the Metro Hall area and praying
Live U3
together.
with the 6th and
We
Jefferson.
had these
Live locator,
protesters
Brendan.
marching all the way out to the Dino's Food Mart location,
Go
about
ahead and
2.5
have it played
miles
on.
or so.
Stand by,
Out to
dissolve.
that side, and there were
Live view
hugs
3,
there. You know, forget the social distancing at this point. This is much more
Nats,
important
please.
to have these kinds of moments, and just a real connection between these protesters and police, and not really even hearing the chanting that we've been hearing. You know, the no
Who are we
justice,
going
no
to?
peace, I can't breathe.
Chad is next. We'll stay here.
We really haven't heard any of that today. So this really was a very tranquil day
And
in
for-
the history of this.
And for most of the evening, police were not on scene in
Live
downtown
U3,
Louisville.
Nats,
Let's go
please.
to Chad right now, where there appears to be some action happening. Chad?
Mike, Chad, Live U3.
So yeah, there is an arrest. We see a bottle. It looked like a bottle just landed near law enforcement, but they just pulled something behind that front echelon there. We're going to move across the street real quick just to get a little better position to see and
Yeah,
to
some things are
escape
just
if we
worth
have to
seeing
run out of the
full.
way of tear gas again. But yeah, we saw an arrest that happened just a minute ago. We hear some of the pops of pepper pellets now.
Live U4,
as
they're
big
kind of in a
group
bad spot.
You know, I'm
They're not showing
standing
us too
a
much.
little bit back, but it looks like a mixture of National Guard, maybe some KSP, probably some LMPD there as well. Moving
quick
into this
E2
area just
preview.
moments ago, kind of breaking everything up, and you can't really see it from where we're standing, but I can kind of see in the distance that Jefferson Square has completely cleared out. I believe. I can't see the entire park, but I don't see any heads off in the distance. Yeah, that's probably a safe bet. Sounds like, or looks like, most people have moved down. They've scattered, mainly moving east on Jefferson, east on Market, and east on Liberty as well. Now, as we've seen in the past couple of nights, sometimes it turns into a little bit of game of cat and mouse. They'll disperse, and then they'll regroup, and then they'll approach law enforcement again. But a couple brave protesters kind of hanging out still here in this area, kind of looking from the distance. Many more people kind of taking shelter behind City Hall right now. I'd say maybe a dozen or so people behind City Hall.
Dalton
but
on
we
Live
will,
U6
send
is
it back
next.
to Dalton Godby for an
Dissolve.
update from over there.
And
Yeah, Chad, just like you
Please just stay
mentioned, they have moved in this area. They've kind of
Dissolve in
overtaken
full.
Jefferson
Put
Square
Liveview
Park,
6 on the left.
and they are now standing on the corner
Liveview 3
of
on the
6
right.
and
Stand
Jefferson.
by,
A lot
under,
of the protesters, most of
and
them actually moved
dissolve.
out, and as you mentioned, there are a few still up there, brave protesters, as you called them. We
Thank
saw
you.
them both come in, both LMPD and the National Guard, come in from Jefferson and Liberty Streets. They made their way here. They made their way here. You heard those blasts, those booms. That was tear gas and flashbangs. Much of that here in this area cleared. The protesters are out. Most of them have dispersed throughout downtown. I'm not seeing a large crowd of anybody right now as I look further down Jefferson Street and even 6th Street as well. Just a couple of reporters down here in the Jefferson Square Park area, and obviously a heavy police presence. Excuse me, we caught a little bit of that tear gas earlier, and at this point, though, there is really no protesters in downtown in the Jefferson Square Park area. And as we mentioned before, this protest all day today has been completely peaceful. We saw officers talking to the protesters, trying to have some kind of dialogue between them to understand what was going on. And there was a lot of frustration from the protesters, but peaceful for the most part. And as far as any kind of protest in downtown Louisville, it seems that that police have enforced the curfew that the mayor put out. That started at about 9 o'clock. So now we are more than an hour past that now. Police moving into Jefferson Square Park and protesters dispersing throughout the city. That is a live look of what is going on right now. We will continue to show you that and what is going on throughout the evening.
Give me the 4-box locators, Brendan.
Back to you guys at the desk.
Mike, the anchors.
All right, thanks, Dalton. If you're just joining us tonight, great changes in the scene here over the last 20 minutes. Right before 10 o'clock, things were calm downtown. They were calm.
Are they still LMPD headquarters?
All day long, here and
Andy,
out at the scene.
are they still
of last
LMPD
night's
headquarters?
Fatal shooting at 26th and Broadway.
Okay.
People had walked from the downtown area
Just making
out
sure.
to the Dino's Food Mart location where that shooting happened, and back downtown they were gathering in Jefferson Square Park. Very peaceful, not really even the chants or shouts that we had heard over the past few days. We were wondering, will this be the most peaceful throughout the night? Will we not see tear gas? Will our reporters not smell tear gas? And then it all started breaking loose just about 15 minutes ago. An hour into that curfew, police started
it's okay if we hear Chad
do something about this crowd that had gathered.
Right, and we see on our screen right now police moving somewhere. It's unclear where at this point. It looked like it was LMPD, and then off to the right you saw KSP still standing there, and it appears the National Guard is now moving in as well, and it's unclear where all the protesters went at this point, but as we did see and hear, there were flashbangs and tear gas and pepper pellets. Our crews were dealing with that as well as giving you live reports, but this all comes after David McAtee was shot and killed overnight in a shooting involving LMPD and the National Guard. It's still unclear what exactly happened in that shooting because there is no body camera footage. The officers did not have their cameras on at the time of the shooting, so it's unclear what transpired in that shooting. And these protesters, they want answers in that shooting as well as the Breonna Taylor shooting.
That fits this one.
Also, Mayor Fisher announcing today that Chief Steve Conrad was fired because of this incident, and now protesters are in fact calling for
on the big box. He's going to the top right of the big box.
The mayor taking action against the chief because of the fact that those body cameras were either not on them or they did not turn them on, which he says is absolutely unacceptable, especially after the Breonna Taylor situation where there's no video of that incident. The governor also saying that he agreed that this is pretty much what had to happen. We wondered if there was going to be a lot of violence tonight, possibly as a result of that. Everybody's saying he's just a wonderful businessman, ran a barbecue business, everybody loved him. The police officers were saying how much they adored him, and then things were peaceful until relatively recent, and now we see some movement within the police. We want to go
to Chad next.
Chad Mills,
Stand by Live View 3 full with E1 and dissolve.
Yeah, so law enforcement making its way east down Jefferson Street right now. They just started maybe 15, 20 seconds ago, moving out of this area where the crowd has now dispersed, making their way to perhaps where some of the protesters went. And it sure seemed like most of them probably went east down those streets. So now pushing them out of downtown in that direction. But you know, you guys were talking about the leadership, and that's one thing we heard over and over again today. People saying Mayor Fisher not cutting it as the mayor of Louisville, hoping that he will resign, saying that adding that to the list of objectives they want to come out of all of this. They want the arrest of the officers in the Breonna Taylor case. And they want to make sure officers are wearing body cameras. They want officers to no longer perform those no-knock warrants. And they want Mayor Fisher to resign, among other things. But, you know, earlier we were talking about Sergeant Jackson, the LMPD sergeant who marched along with the protesters, and he was telling us that he, you know, understands where those people are coming from, and it certainly looked like that
Live as, well.
As we sat there and talked with him and saw him interact with so many people out there, even a young guy, maybe 10 years old or so, kind of embracing that little boy, putting his hands on the boy's shoulders and kind of giving him a real face-to-face conversation. And you have to think a situation
Stand by
like
Live
that,
U6 audio.
maybe a boy like
We
that
will be
had
going
never
to Dalton
had
next.
interaction with law enforcement before. So an example of some community policing throughout all of this. But I think we will kind of move on from where we are, because law enforcement mostly cleared out of this area, moving down Jefferson. Next time you join us, or actually we might be able to walk around the corner right now and give you a look down Jefferson to see what law enforcement is doing right now. Again, most of the protesters made their way down here. You can see a couple LMPD officers with the batons walking back in this direction, not really walking back with any speed or haste, and some National Guardsmen, guardswomen unloading from the bed of that truck as well. Helicopters continue to buzz overhead. We see down there at the intersection, they're amassing right there. Dalton, what are you seeing out there right now?
Yeah, Chad, we are right now on 5th and Liberty. And there are a couple of protesters, some stragglers really just in this area. Some of them, I guess it was on 6th Street and 6th and Liberty, just down the way there was one protester who was standing right in front of LMPD, making obscene gestures at them. They continue to fire some of those pepper bullets, as we've seen. They were firing them at him, and he just stayed with them and really stayed right there in front of him and took the fire. I believe there are some more officers that are approaching this area. I heard LMPD, someone on a live stream or on a bullhorn,
dissolve,
and they said,
stand by 4
this
box
is an
with the
unlawful
E2.
gathering. You need to disperse
Dissolve.
immediately, or you could be arrested. Whether or not that person was talking about the curfew, I'm not sure. What they meant by an unlawful gathering, I'm not sure of either, but it is well past the curfew at this point. If you can see just to my right, Jacob
Live
fuel
E3
panel
on the
that
right.
way, there are some protesters still in the area. Most of them
On the
have
right.
dispersed,
Live E6
but
on
some
the
of them
left.
still here, obviously.
Stand by Live
and
E6
just
full.
being pushed back as the National Guard, as LMPD continues
Dissolve.
to push them back
Stand
as
by
well. How long this will continue, we do not know. But all of this just breaking out within the last really 30 minutes or so, after a completely peaceful protest all day. But we'll continue to give you a live look at that, but we'll send it back to the desk for now.
Mike the Anchors, stand by Emmy.
Thanks, Dalton Gabi, live downtown
Stand by
tonight,
Live
where the
E3
scene has
full.
greatly changed in the last about 25 minutes or so. Over just
Dissolve.
before 10 o'clock.
Stand by Emmy
Things were
1B.
peaceful in
Add
Jefferson
E2,
Square,
Brendan,
where
the
most
4
people
box.
had been gathering. And then about 10 o'clock, apparently somebody gave the orders, like,
And
let the
dissolve.
tear gas fly, and it did. And the crowd that had been gathered
We're going
there
to break.
seemed to have scattered, and
Break
things
one.
have calmed down
Break
quite a
one
bit.
is next,
And
Master.
despite the peaceful atmosphere to the protest, it's important to note that there is a curfew in place that is 9 p.m. It appears that the law enforcement officers were trying to get people to disperse, to get them to go home. That curfew and actually has been extended until June 8th, which is next Monday. So we'll see how long this might last, the back and forth between protesters wanting to get their voices heard and talking with the police officers. These are 4 shots of downtown Louisville right now. Things have been very active for the first half of the show, starting at 10 o'clock, but things have very much calmed down right now, and we want to take a quick break, and we'll get right back into the action in just about 2.5 minutes.
And dissolve. And roll your brake master. Stand by camera 2. Stand by.
Fiberglass. Just be sure to choose Gilkey.
Up on 2. Stand by 2 box.
And we want to go back live downtown where things have greatly changed with the protests today.
Box.
Things were peaceful about a half an
Stand
hour
by
ago.
live view
and then the tear
3.
gas started flying. We have our Chad Mills tonight
Play it on,
with the latest
Brendan.
on what's happening down there, Chad.
And take.
So yeah, the perspective you're looking at right now, you're looking east.
Nobody's really giving us
Fifth Street.
anything right
Fifth
now.
Street is just there in the distance. You see the backs of all the National Guardsmen, LMPD officers, and
Go ahead
others.
and flip it back
It's
over,
our
prompter.
understanding, and we're pretty low on the ground. We can't see over them, but the protesters are just on the other side, or maybe down a block or two, looking back at these officers that we are now behind after they moved through. We anticipate there might be some more tear gas, maybe some pepper pellets, so we're going to kind of stay back because we don't want to get caught in the wind if it comes back in this direction. But just looking around us, west of us, behind us, there are no more protesters at this point. Maybe 1 or 2 stragglers who were hiding in alleys or whatnot, but I don't see too many. You can see a couple there on the sidewalk who may have been demonstrating earlier, but not the mass gathering that we saw earlier. Now you can see, let's walk down this way toward Jefferson Square just a little bit. I want to show you, the protesters were prepared for tear gas and whatnot, but they scattered out of here pretty quickly. You heard the other day about the milk and the water bottles that were taken by LMPD officers because LMPD saying they saw some mason
we'll be 2 boxing back to the anchors, and they're going to read
with
a vote
explosives or something like that. That's what LMPD was telling us. Well, they had a little bit of a field hospital set out here today. You can see the milk and water bottles there just standing by, but the protesters for now have left this part of downtown. Guys.
And Mike the anchors. Cue him.
All right, Chad Mills live downtown tonight. Chad's been a very busy man, and his camera person, Hobie Crace, have been walking the entire route from downtown out to 26th and Broadway, and bringing it all to all of you all night through his Facebook Live. He's been right there as the police walked along with the protesters. And there you see all the water bottles
Camera 2,
that have
tighten
been
up,
left
2,
behind.
tighten
So
up.
I don't know if those are still filled or if it's basically trash at this point. But
Keep going.
all the
Hold.
protesters have left everything behind. They've scattered and just evacuated from the downtown area as far as we can see at this point.
Right, and not only has Chad and Hobie been walking with these protesters all evening and all night, but they've been interviewing them as well on this Facebook Live. Thousands of people are tuning in at the evening and then carrying on late into the night, so he's getting some good information out to all of our viewers and his viewers
and some good exercise.
Yeah, and some good exercise.
With the banner, camera, and trying to keep up with that the entire way. So lots of credit to Hobie Crace too, our photographer, going the whole way with them there, and all of our other crews out there trying to figure out what's happening right now. We'll be getting back with them for the latest on what is happening downtown right now, where things appear to be peaceful, but we don't know. Is this going to be it? We shall be back in touch with them to see just what the latest is.
All right, and we have a really good story that we want to show you as well tonight.
Yeah, we've had a few of these moments today. One group of LMPD officers spent part of today's protest walking with the protesters.
Take a look at this image right here. Just look at that. The officers were arm in arm with protesters. Officers talked and hugged them, and we asked the officers why they wanted to walk with them.
And roll X, hold.
We as a community
lose Z1.
So the thing is, there's no need for division.
And dissolve.
There's no need for us and them.
Which live shot for the T's?
And we're gonna get through this together.
Which live shot for the T's? Lose Z1.
That's why we're here. Put boots on the ground, feet on the ground, to let the community know that we are the community and the community is us. We're part of this.
Mike Anchors,
And an
stand by
important
live view
message
4
there.
with
We also saw an
E3.
officer
Do we have a
wiping
locator
his
for that?
tears from his face.
Stand by the live
very,
tween.
very emotional, and he said there is a
Stand by
lot
live
of
view
pain
6.
that needs to be recognized.
The 6th in
and again,
Jefferson
that
or
starts
downtown,
with dialogue
anything?
and talking and listening and being there for one another.
And there you see him, you had talked about that, Chad had talked about that earlier, where he's hugging the 10-year-old boy as well. What an impact that is probably having on that child tonight, and just changing that
I gotcha. Count me down.
view, changing those
Stand by 2
perspectives a
full,
little bit
stand by 2
about,
full,
you know, the
dissolve.
us versus them, and it's
Stand
like
by
no,
live
we're
view
all
6.
one. We're all one community. We're all here for the same cause, and we feel your pain. We want to get along. We want to work through this and work.
And we're still doing
toward,
weather tees?
A much better day.
Yeah, and working on
stand
that
marked by.
community policing. It's so good to see a moment like that amid all of the protests and some of the violence that we've seen. And we will get out to some of the
Live
protests
tween.
that are happening right now
Stand
in
by
downtown
camera 1,
Louisville,
this
which
is a
appears
tee.
to
Stand by
be
the flash to 1.
not much. At the moment, the protesters have really cleared out of that area. We will continue to follow with our crews to see what is happening there.
Mike Mark Flash.
Today, we saw
Stand by the
temperatures
fade
get
to
to
black.
around
Stand by
80
your brake
degrees
master.
in our future, and it's not far away. We're
Break
gonna
2
go
is
above
next. Break 2 is
90.
next.
Let's talk about the warmest we have seen in 2020 so far.
Hey, fade to black. Roll your brake.
What a
Stand
time
by.
to be alive, eh?
Republic Bank.
Up on him. Stand by live
One of the
view.
big stories of the day
7.
is another person was shot and killed in a shooting involving police and the National Guard. It happened at 26th and Broadway. We're going to go to our Travis Ragsdale, who was at the scene where David McAtee had been shot.
Dissolve.
Travis?
Yeah, Fallon, just here in the last couple of minutes, we noticed it looks like there's a fire of some sort, just a small fire on top of Dino's Food Mart here, the popular location for people to hang out. That's where this group was gathered last night when the shooting took place here. There was a crowd of about probably 200 people here. I would say that probably you're still seeing about 200 people here. It's more of a party atmosphere. We haven't seen any police at all here. At this point in the night, we walked down with protesters from Jefferson Square Park all the way down here around 7:30 tonight. We've been down here ever since. But to this point, everything has been peaceful. We have seen no police, not National Guard, not LMPD, no law enforcement at all to this point. And what we're
Break
told
4
by
is next.
the group here, again, I would not call this a protest. I would call this a party here. A few
2
people that we've
small,
spoken
live
to
view,
have
7
said
big.
that they're glad LMPD and National Guard has not come down to this area, allowing them to grieve for David McAtee, who was beloved in this part of Louisville, in the Russell neighborhood. He was known as the Barbecue Man, and what we've told a number of people here is that fire, Zach. If we want to get a shot of that, the fire continues to grow on top of Dino's gas station here. We haven't seen any sign of the fire department at this point, and I don't have any way of knowing of how that fire started. Another thing that we keep seeing down here, burnouts, a lot of people honking their horns, but again, no police to this point as we continue to monitor that fire on top of Dino's here. Looks like a couple people are trying to let them know that there is a fire on top of the roof. I would imagine the fire department is going to have to come down here at some point. But again, there's probably 200, 250 people out here right now. The group that we've talked to, the group of people that we've talked to tonight have said that they don't want LMPD down here tonight. That would only create more problems for this community, they say, and instead they want to be able to join together. A number of people have drinks and food. Music is playing throughout this
Which
area.
live shot are we doing for the
that
tees?
fire continues to get a little bit bigger on top of Dino's.
Oh, Travis is tossing the brake? Okay, Travis will toss the brake, not the anchors.
A lot of people have actually cleared out since that fire has started. But yeah, again, peaceful for the most part to this point. We're going to cross the street here. Peaceful to this point
with E2
with this group of people down here.
And E1.
Again, LMPD, no sign of LMPD, no sign of National Guard. We did see an LMPD cruiser drive by maybe 10 minutes ago or so, but they just cruised by, took a look at everything. I believe I saw the National Guard helicopter fly over maybe 15 minutes ago, did a quick circle, and then it looked like it headed back downtown. But unlike downtown, things continuing to progress here. A group of people still here with a fire on top of Dino's right now. It looks like I hear another helicopter in the air here as well. It sounds to me and looks like to me the Air National Guard helicopter. A group of people trying to get into Dino's, it looks like, to do something about that fire. No sign of the fire department at this point. Again, this is where David McAtee was shot and killed around midnight last night, just down the block here on 26th Street. There's a group of people that were gathered here at Dino's. National Guard and LMPD rolled up, tried to disperse that crowd. LMPD says that someone fired at them. LMPD and National Guard returned fire. David McAtee was shot and killed. The barbecue man was shot and killed.
Are you going to Joel?
In that fire.
Okay.
But at this point, LMPD cannot say whether its officers or Air National or the Kentucky National Guard actually shot David McAtee. You can see a fire truck coming down.
There comes the fire truck.
26th Street here now to take care of that fire on top of Dino's. Worth noting that there are no police officers and no LMPD that's accompanying this group of firefighters here downtown. Or I'm sorry, at the 26th and Broadway at Dino's. That fire hasn't gotten much bigger, in the past 5 minutes or so since it started. Again, I'd say there's still probably 200 people out right now. Helicopters now flying overhead.
Can we see if Zach can get on top of the ladder?
One fire truck here arrived in about 5 or 6 minutes after that fire first started, trying to get hooked up to a hose right now. It looks like most everybody now just kind of watching
Stand by, ME2B with E2.
Firefighters do their work here. No indication again of what started this fire.
With E1.
We just noticed the smoke kind of coming up from the top of the roof there.
It's about a Hot Punch Live
E3. The flames.
Hot Punch Live E3.
Looks like police are now arriving on scene.
Stand by Live
A number of LMPD cars have just pulled up here to the corner of 26th and Broadway.
Dissolve Live U7.
And this is exactly what this group of people here did not want. They did not want LMPD coming to this. Only thing I know how to call it is a party that was here.
Stay with this, guys.
We're going to try and get across the street here so we can show you these police officers. And they are in their tactical gear with those what appear to be paintball guns that are actually filled with pepper balls. Kind of encircling Dino's here. Pretty similar scene to what we saw last night, minus the National Guard here. Much smaller group of officers that have arrived here at Dino's Food Mart. Again, they're surrounding Dino's here.
It's very compelling. We gotta stay with it.
Surrounding the firefighters as we're watching them on the roof right now. A group of about a dozen or so police officers arrived just a couple minutes after firefighters did. But nobody seemingly giving them any trouble. Everything looking peaceful right now as officers arrive here. But again, officers do have those pepper ball guns. Officers kind of creating a perimeter around Dino's as firefighters are on top of the roof trying to deal with that. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 LMPD cars, maybe a dozen officers in total. So
back over there.
A lot smaller police presence here than was here last night when David McAtee was shot and killed. Again, we don't know who killed David McAtee, better known as the barbecue man, down here in the Russell neighborhood. Looks like firefighters have quickly extinguished that fire. Smoke coming out of Dino's front window, though. So LMPD now here at 26th and Broadway, where that shooting was last night. But to this point, again, everything peaceful. There's been no confrontation with police officers at this point. A few officers with those less lethal pepper ball guns. A few officers with batons here. And here comes an armored LMPD vehicle to our left here. A lot of people have cleared out since LMPD got here, I'll tell you. Maybe 100 people here now. A lot of traffic in this intersection, so they're trying to move this armored vehicle from LMPD in. Sounds like another fire truck coming from somewhere, yep, coming down Broadway from further down west here.
Brake 5 is dead, brake 5 is dead.
Largely to this point, this has been very peaceful here at 26 and Broadway. I would describe it as a party. That's how people here were describing it. Music playing, a lot of people drinking, having a good time. They said that this was kind of their way of mourning the barbecue man as they knew him, or Yaya as some knew him as well. The LMPD armored vehicle has just pulled up here as firefighters are inside Dino's and on the roof. Looks like they've gotten control of that fire, but a lot of smoke from what I can see inside Dino's. Again, we don't know how that fire was started. It started very small. My photographer, Zach Crabtree, first noticed the flicker of flames up top there, and it grew to, based upon where those firefighters are, maybe 6 feet tall flames, but under control now. As LMPD again moving this armored vehicle right in front of us by Dino's. All told, there's about 25, maybe 20 officers here right now, trying to get a handle on traffic as well. So this fire started probably 15 minutes ago, maybe not even that long, maybe 10 minutes ago. And looks like I've got National Guard Humvees moving in here as well that will get you a shot coming down Broadway here. We're going to continue to monitor the situation
Start
here.
singing tease
We'll have
music.
updates for you right after this break.
Hey, give me locator. Hey, somebody fade to black. And fade to black for your break.